Hello everyone, I'm Sil and this is Slow Easy English. In the last video I made, I talked about the difference between idioms and proverbs. In this video, I'm going to talk about the difference between metaphors and similes. Now actually, I'm going to start with similes, even though I'm sorry that I put similes at the bottom. But I decided just now that I should start with similes because it's a little easier to explain before I go to metaphors. So what is a simile? Well, a simile is when we make a comparison between two things. Now, it's not a real comparison though. It's a comparison that we use in order to, emphasize someone's qualities or just to make the story more colorful, for example. So as an example here, he's as tall as a skyscraper. Okay, so obviously no one is really as tall as a skyscraper. That would be a really tall person. So no one is actually as tall as a skyscraper, but I am using the word skyscraper to describe that he is very tall. Okay? Now, yes, he's very tall. Maybe he's 6'7", but he's not, I don't know what, 500 feet tall or whatever. Okay? So I'm using skyscraper just to create some imagery in your head that he is very tall. Okay, so what makes this a simile, however, is that I'm actually saying he's as tall as a skyscraper. Okay, I'm not calling him a skyscraper. That's a metaphor, and I'll get to that in a moment. But with a simile, we use as, adjective as, whatever, or we use the word like. For example, in this sentence, the speaker is saying, "You're like my mother, always telling me what to do." Now, the speaker probably does not actually mean that, she is like my mother, but simply stating that my mother always told me what to do, you're always telling me what to do. That may be an exaggeration, comparing her to my mother, but I'm using it for effect. I'm using it to make a point. Even though she's not actually in real life like my mother, on this point I don't want her to tell me what to do, so I'll say, "You're like my mother, always telling me what to do." Okay, so in these two examples, we're using the word like, or we're using as, adjective as, whatever. And that's what makes these similes, okay? It's no coincidence that the word simile is similar to the word similar. So you're drawing a similarity here between A and B. Now, with a metaphor, moving up, with a metaphor, when I say, "She is the sunshine of my life," obviously she's not actual sunshine. Life, day, whatever. If I say that she is the sunshine of my day or the sunshine of my life, she's not actual sunshine. She's a person. She's special to me, and when I see her, she makes my day brighter and happier. So I'm using the word sunshine here to describe her. Now, the difference here is I didn't say she is like sunshine. I said she is the sunshine of my day. So this is a metaphor. Okay? After we broke up, I cried a river of tears. I cried a river of tears. Obviously, nobody in the history of the world has ever cried enough to create a real river. But to say, after we broke up, I cried a river of tears, it sounds a little bit nicer, than I cried a lot, right? It means the same thing, and you can look at this and you can guess what they mean very easily. You don't need to look this up in the dictionary. She is the sunshine of my day. You don't really need to look that up in the dictionary. You should be able to imagine what the real meaning is here, right? So these are, the metaphors and similes are very similar. I always feel funny saying simile and similar in the same sentence, but metaphors and similes are very similar. Just have that little difference where a simile is comparing A and B with the word like or as. A metaphor is using B to replace A in order to describe A more colorfully, or to add emphasis to something. So try to remember that is the distinction between a metaphor and a simile. And if you watched the other video where I talked about idioms and proverbs, remember that sometimes we can confuse, it's easy to confuse a metaphor and an idiom. An idiom, strictly speaking, should be words that, when together, the meaning is not obvious from those individual words. For example, kick the bucket. Kick, using your leg to kick something, and a bucket, actually kicking a bucket, has nothing to do with dying. But that's what it means. To kick the bucket means to die. You need a dictionary to find that answer. Here, you don't need a dictionary. And I've seen on many idiom lists where people actually have this list of idioms, but they're not only idioms. They have metaphors, they have similes, they have proverbs, they have just expressions and sayings, and they have all these things, and they're all mixed up into one list. So this is is this important for day-to-day life? No, not really. You're not going to talk about metaphors and similes and proverbs. We don't generally talk about this stuff very often. And in fact, I think if you ask the average person on the street what is a metaphor, they'll know generally, but they won't be able to define it precisely. Ask them what an idiom is. I think a lot of people don't know what it is. Until I started teaching English, I didn't really think about the differences either. So you probably won't discuss these differences with people on the street or in your daily life. But for learning another language, it does help to know the difference. So just try to keep it in mind as you're learning, and that's that. So anyway, that's all I have to say for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the like button, and feel free to share this video with your friends and your family on Facebook, on Twitter, on ESL discussion boards, anywhere you can, and hopefully that will help more people learn better and faster. Thank you very much for watching. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.